Hi, my name is Steven Halverson. I'm a research technician at Ccri. Ccri is a polymer science company that specializes in making basically tailored plastics for a given application. For example, a toothbrush has 3 different kinds of plastics that nobody really think about. And each one of those plastics has to perform in a very specific way. They have to be chemically resistant, rigid, yet flexible, and all these trade-offs are what Ccri optimizes. So by varying the ingredients in a plastic, you get a new basically product. So what I do is, as a research technician in the physical testing lab, I am tasked with evaluating the properties of these materials. So depending on the project that the chemist is working on, a plastic like a gasket, for example, if it's, for example, an oil tray or something, the plastic that goes into the making that oil tray has to be resistant to oils and whatnot. So we, at the physical testing lab, just evaluate how each of the plastics do. And a chemist will give us, 8 to 10 formulations that slightly vary in composition. And we basically just nail down exactly what each of the plastics can do. And then the customer that we work with can choose which one works best for their needs.
About your time at CCRI. When did you start at CCRI? Where are you in your program? What degree are you working toward? And what other education are you pursuing?
I started in CCRI back in, I want to say 2016 fall. So off the bat, I started going for a chemical engineering degree. Meanwhile, I started doing the chemical technology program with Professor Suits. That's the 2-year associates. And I really have to say that's been a great program, great experience. Gave me direct hands-on time in the lab, basically, and made me very comfortable. And as a result of doing well in Chemtech, I decided to continue going and just full steam ahead, basically, with the URI chemical engineering. So it's a good time.
If you could, please walk us through a typical day at your current job. What do you do first when you get there, and how do you proceed through your day?
Well, these days, because of COVID, we have to fill out a health survey every day as soon as we get there. Ccri has been very good at keeping us safe, considering it's a global company that has, 9 plants, even in America. We've only had a handful of people get sick, so they've really taken that seriously. Once that's done, basically, at any given time, we have about 3 to 6 projects, let's say. There are about 20 people who work in the PTL. That's the physical testings lab. And for a given project, basically the plastics have to be compounded. So literally mixed together, powders, oils, filler, minerals, everything. Once they're made, they're pressed, extruded, milled, injection molded. And if that's my job for the day, then that's what we'll do. These plastics have to condition for about a day. So on any given day, we have the previous days or weeks test materials ready to go. And the PTL has basically endless capabilities of evaluating, if you're making a cable jacket, for example, you need to know the dielectric strength, how resistant it is to tearing, what kind of chemical environments it can withstand. So, if we were working on a project for that, we would put that through all the tests. Really, it's just working with my team, because without them, I'm basically nothing. Working with them and just getting through the day, doing the tests as they're needed. Ccri has ASTM, ISO, and UL testing that we do. So that's burn testing, pretty much all the mechanical testing you can think of. Plastics can basically go in pretty much everything in the modern world. So, if you look around where you're sitting right now, chances are a large percentage of that is plastic. And people don't really give much thought into these things, but there are companies like Ccri basically developing all the materials that go into making the modern world work. It's very cool. So my days basically just involve with me cranking away in a laboratory with 2 to 4 experiments going at a time, trying to stay on top of my time and working with my guys. So it's good fun.
So how have your CCRI experiences contributed to your success at your current job?
You can't overstate the importance of the hands-on time we got with Professor Suits in the chemical technology program. For example, we briefly touch on analytical chemistry using a GC, that's a gas chromatography. It's a technique of basically separating chemicals. And when I had to do a fill for someone who was out in the analytical lab, for example, at Technor, the exact same technology that was used in CCRI is used at the Technor lab. So I literally had used the exact machine effectively at Technor as I did with Professor Suits. Also, I really can't stress enough how good it was to work with such a small group of people. That at CCRI, we had about 6 to 7 people in our class. All of us got hired, by the way, which is really cool. Every single one of us. And I actually got hired out of the chemical technology program through another graduate of Chemtech. At Technor alone, there may be 8, 10 people straight out of Chemtech who've been working there of all levels. So techs, managers, directors, they've gone through Chemtech. I think that speaks for itself, really. And working with the small team, again, I'm nothing without them. So it was really good at first, when we first started Chemtech 1. You're very nervous in the chemistry lab. You're in this organic lab. There are things that blow up, chemicals, acids, crazy stuff. By the end of the 4th semester, it's like you've lived there for 2 years almost, and you know your way around so well. And that's been really great because it builds confidence that you can use in your workplace. And technical know-how is only half the battle, but being comfortable with where you're working is also very important. And I got that straight through CCRI, so that's great.
What advice would you give current CCRI students hoping to enter your career field?
Well, I would say, first off, stay in school. It's a very important thing. At very minimum, the 2-year Chemtech is a great thing to do. If you go through that, basically there are Chemtech graduates all over Rhode Island. Pharmaceutical, material science, Waters Corp, they're basically industry gold standard of a lot of analytical chemistry instruments. Basically go through Chemtech and you have access to this almost alumni crew, kind of little group that feed Professor Suits job opportunities. So the longer you stay in school, the higher you can basically aim when you do go to these companies. And although I can't personally speak for what opportunities may arise at Technor Apex within the next year or two, I can definitely say that there are constant ongoing opportunities in production, in the labs like QC labs or the pilot plant. And although that's a little bit more physical where you're loading large blenders and you work with larger quantities than we do in the PTL, you still basically get your foot in the door and you can start in QC and physical or pilot plant and then move up. So I'd really just recommend staying in school, do Chemtech, that's really good. Basically, yeah, just stay in school.